So last session we have covered the VM queues, how to use them, and we have tested the application. So today we'll be looking at the organizing Mule application files. So this will be mostly important in your day-to-day development, and as a good practices, people will be looking at your code and judge it based on these configurations that we are doing today. If you write an API and then send it over for review or want to deploy it somewhere, it has to pass a testing or a review phase. In the review phase, your team lead or your colleague who is working on MuleSoft will be looking at the code and see how the files has been configured. So not like in Java, here we won't be looking line by line, but it all depends upon the structure and how you code the application, like how you manage it, how you organize it, that plays the key role of your API. Based on that organization, based on your configurations, people will know how matured you are with the MuleSoft application and how long you've been working on MuleSoft. It will all be judged based on just organizing your data in the files in the MuleSoft Studio Code API, in the API. So even though it is working, even though it is doing what it is asked to, just putting them in the right way and packaging them in the right manner will determine the experience of MuleSoft development and good practices. So with that keeping in mind, let's see on how to configure them in today's class. Okay, once you have your Anypoint Studio up and running, open the app dev examples file which we have worked in the last session. So here, right click and go to new and select Mule configuration file. Here in the Mule configuration file, select the project as app dev example and the file name will be accounts.xml. Finish. From the palette, we'll drag and drop the listener. In the listener properties, let that be the same listener configuration, but in the path, let's give it /sfdc. SFDC means salesforce.com. So by this, you might have already getting sense that our file name is accounts and our resource name is SFDC. That means we might be dealing with accounts in Salesforce. So once you have this, add the transform message component from the flow. So I dragged and dropped from the palette. In the transform message, I remove this Java at the end and put JSON because I want a JSON structure. And here I'll remove the brackets and type payload. And now save it.
In transform message, what we need to do?
Change it to JSON and payload. Now create one more Mule configuration file and call it as global.xml. Finish. So whenever you create a new configuration file, the file canvas here, the message flow will be empty for you to drag and drop the components and get started. But when you go to configuration.xml, you have this basic header. These are called
Path also we need to give SFDC, right?
yes. These are called namespaces, XML namespace, Mule namespaces. So you have this empty message whenever you create a new configuration file. So now let's go back to appdev.examples.xml, and here if you go to global elements, you have three elements here. One is listener configuration, request configuration, and VM configuration. So what are these configurations? For every connection, there will be a configuration. Those configurations are listed here. So far in our flow, how many um, request messages are there? How many connections are there? Basically, there is one connection here which is called request. There is one connection here. It is called listener. There is one connection here which is called VM goodbye, and one more connection here. It is a listener, VM listener, and rest are all just, these are not connections. These are something to do with the transformers, transform connectors, some connectors like loggers and payload. These are not connections, these are connectors. So whenever you have a connection, you have these connector configurations, right? So these configurations are called connections. So once you have a connection, it will all be listed here. So basically listener is one, request is one, and VM is one. So we have three configurations here, right? Make sense so far? Why we have three here?
Yes.
Yeah. So now we'll go to configuration.xml. So there will be the config, and then config. So if you notice, all the configurations are listed at the top, and then the subflow or flows will be listed at the bottom. So whenever you highlight, you click on a flow, on the left side you see this blue area which shows that the flow is starting here and ending here, and there is one more flow starting here and it is ending here, and there is one subflow starting here and ending here, and this entire mule message is starting here and ending at the bottom. In the same way, before starting our flows and subflows, that means before starting any of these components in code, the connections are configurations are written first by default. So these are the connection configurations, right? So I will just cut. So I will right click and then cut them, take them off, go to my global, and then here at the end you will see a mule end tag, mule start tag, mule end tag. In between those, I'm pasting them, and then you will see errors, but don't panic. Click on save all button on the top. Now the configurations here are missing, that's why it's showing error, and the configurations here are taken from there, so it's complaining that there are duplicates. So once you save this, right, the error will go. If you still see error, just make some backspace or space and then save it, then you will see all the errors are gone. Now if you see the global elements, the connections are gone, but the code says still intact, nothing has changed. But in the global.xml, if you go to global elements, the connections are here. So this global.xml is a file which holds all the connections. That is the purpose of having global.xml. So no matter how many flows we have, how many configuration files we have, all the connections has to be in one folder, one file. That is a good practice. Whenever you go to global elements in any file, you shouldn't see single connection configuration. It should all be present in the global.xml. You have to register this point as a developer. As a MuleSoft developer, all the connection configuration will be residing in the global.xml. Clear so far?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So once we made these changes, we want to make sure that it's still running. So that's the reason I'm trying to run this application once on my local and see a success message. All of you test your applications locally. I just tested and got my success response. I'll give you a few minutes. Please make sure you get the success response. Goodbye, hello. And if you are still having that request URL, you can try, or else ask me, I can give you in the chat. I'm sure you will have it. All we did is just change the configurations. That's it. Now let's continue. Now select the here. Now we want to, in the accounts, we want to call the Salesforce. So how do we call Salesforce? Salesforce is a connection. To establish a connection, we need a connector, right? To get a connector, we'll type in the palette here. So here I will say Salesforce. I already have. If you don't have, let me know. Okay. In the global elements, again go to global.xml. In the global elements, create, and here we'll type Salesforce, but it's not coming. So you are getting Salesforce, but it's not in the palette. So click on the add modules. Add modules there for second option, and here you will have the Salesforce. Drag and drop here. So the jar file will load into your modules. Now the Salesforce is here. If once the Salesforce is here in your dependencies, you will also see the Salesforce coming here. Once you have the Salesforce here, that means the jar files to run the connection and the drivers are loaded successfully. Now we will give the connection configuration in the global.xml. So click on create. Now type Salesforce. Now Salesforce will come, and then click on OK. Salesforce configuration. Now we will be giving the username and password. Let me know if you all are at this step. Okay. Now we will give the username and password and security token which we have created earlier on the previous class. Do you remember? We created the Salesforce account. So that we will be mentioning it here. So I have the account and I have the password and the security token already noted. Do you all have it or lost it already?
Have it, have it.
Yeah, pull that up.
Salesforce security code.
Yeah, that you got in an email, right?
Yeah, okay.
So once you put username, password, and security token, you can test the connection. See, I got the test connection successful message. Are you still doing it?
Joe, I don't know. The app crashed, and I mean, Studio crashed, and all the flows got deleted in mine.
Okay, you can restart and test.
Okay. The thing is, when I app got Studio got restarted, I don't see any flows show. Any flows, Joe, like entire thing got deleted from app dev examples.
It won't be deleted. You just have to reload the project. It will be in your so any points
Can I
to,
present my screen?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can you click on global or accounts or anything? I think it's frozen. The studio is not responding
Everything is working,
or
but
working.
yeah, flows got disappeared.
Go to global configuration.xml.
From the source.
No, at the bottom of the app dev example
Okay.
configuration.
Okay.
So here the VM connector, it's showing an error. Line 18. And
Yeah.
then you copy the line 9 to 18, all of that. Cut it, not copy.
Okay.
These are all configurations, right? We are
Yeah.
taking them out and then save
Yeah.
this and go to
They're in global.
global.xml. Yeah, configuration.
Yeah,
configuration XML. Yeah, here you saved it, right? Okay. Now make a small change, like give a space or remove a space and save it. Save it. Save all.
over here.
Yeah.
Hmm, still saying error.
So VM configuration, that's not correct. Actually, you will have a queue and all. So
Yeah, I don't know. Suddenly app got closed, and when I restarted it again, it entire thing got disappeared.
so I'll send you in chat. Paste that.
Okay.
You have to replace 19. Now see if you got your flows back.
Yeah.
But in the global elements, you still see there is one unknown connector or something in the app dev examples. In the app dev examples file,
Okay. I didn't get. Okay.
app dev examples file, in the global elements down. Yeah.
Okay.
What is this unknown queue? Remove that,
You.
delete, save it. Okay. Okay, awesome. Now we are all at the same page. Now I am going to my accounts and then click on the Salesforce. Here I have a query. So search for query function. Where is query? Query is here. So drag and drop before the transform message. In the query, you will see the connection is already there because we have created in the global.xml and it's loaded automatically. Now let's write the Salesforce query. So Salesforce has a database. It's like a database where it stores the customer information. So we are trying to access that data from Salesforce using Salesforce query. Salesforce query is similar to a database query, but few changes. So right now we'll just write select name, comma, last modified date, comma, billing postal code from account. So I'll send you this in chat. Paste it there and then save it and then run this application. To call the salesforce.com, the query here, I have a listener here. What will be my URL?
Sales.
Same until 8081,
Okay.
and we give the path. What path we give? Salesforce something SPF. In place of hello, we should give the path and
Salesforce configuration.
SFDC,
yeah,
salesforce.com.
yeah,
Salesforce.com. So I have the salesforce.com. It's a get method. So I'm sending a request. See, I got all
yeah,
data from the Salesforce directly. And the fields in my query are name, last modified, billing postal. Name, last modified, and a billing postal code. So these are all just as I requested, right? This is right how you write the query. So I'll keep this open, test this application on your local and let me know once you got the response. Did you test it?
yeah. The accounts flows not yet retrieved, so I redone again.
Mhm.
So how to make connection to the Salesforce database? I lost it. Can you please say that again?
So we already made the connection in the
Yeah,
global.xml.
yeah.
in the Salesforce configuration, we have given our username, password, and token, security token.
Okay. So should go into the accounts, global elements, and then what should I do?
Not accounts global elements. We have put everything in global.xml, all connection configurations.
Okay.
So in the
So
global, yeah,
yeah, please go ahead.
in the global.xml, you have to create new and then type Salesforce. If you don't get Salesforce, let me know.
Yeah, I got Salesforce config and then
Yeah, select that. Once you select that, you
okay.
get this window here.
Yeah, username and password, right?
Yes. So to imagine if you have to write a Java code to call a Salesforce service and get the response and get the same JSON payload as a response, how much time it takes? Maybe a day or two, right?
Yeah.
In MuleSoft, you just made it in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So while you test, we'll go forward. So here, so far we are able to segregate the connections from the application to global.xml. So whenever something connection we have to change, we don't have to go in each of the accounts, each of the way. We don't have to search where Salesforce is used, where listeners are there, where virtual VM connectors are there, right? We can just go to one place, global.xml, and come here and make changes if something changes going forward. So again, here we have hard coded all the values. So this is also not a good practice. So if someone comes here, they can literally see and use your details. It's so vulnerable basically, right? So how to eliminate this? So we have property files. So in the source main resources folder, right click, go to new, and then click on file, new file. In the file, name it as config.yaml and click on finish. So once you have configs.yaml, go back to global.xml. In the global elements, click create, and here we'll type connection properties. Connection properties. Here, configuration properties. So we are saying all the connections have properties: username, password, base path, listener, port number, host number. So they're all different properties. So we are creating a configuration.yaml file and putting all those properties in one place. So we don't have to go again to each connector again. So for that, I've created a config.yaml file. It is empty, but I have to let MuleSoft know that there is a file to go and get the properties for. So that's why we are creating this configuration properties. So configuration properties is telling MuleSoft whenever there is a property, go and find in the config.yaml. So in the file, I'll type config.yaml. Since it's in the same API in the same source main resources, it will able to catch whenever we type config.yaml, it will go and get that, grab that value file here. If this config.yaml is placed inside a folder, then you will give slash folder name and config.yaml. Now right now we have it directly under the source main resources. So in that case, we are going and click OK and save it. Now we'll go to config.yaml. So this is similar to raml, how you code, right? Just that you don't have any predefined raml headers or anything. This is plain property files. So here I will type http colon as and give a tab space. So when you enter to line 2 on your keyboard, you will find a tab. So if you hit tab, you will get a tab space. Before you do that, stop this application or else it will be annoying. So give a tab space and then type port. and space, and port number is 8081. So we are starting to mention all the properties starting from the listener here. So in our listener, when we edit, we have this port number 8081. So we are letting that, putting that into our configuration.yaml. And what else we have? We have the Salesforce. So I go to Salesforce connector, and then username I'll copy, and then in the config.yaml, are you all with me? You have to do along with me.
Yeah, yeah.
SFDC salesforce.com and tab space username colon
Fourth
and
one.
ports username password colon space password and token colon space token. Security token, copy, okay, and then come and paste it here. And password I will type on my screen on the side.
Username, password, and token, right?
Yeah, sorry, I was talking on mute. So once you have that, right, do you have it, the YAML file?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you have it, go to your properties and then type like this: dollar flower brace sfdc dot username, dollar flower brace sfdc dot property password. Exactly, it has to match. Wherever there is dot, it means there is a tab space in the YAML file. And sfdc dot token. Sfdc is the parent field, token is its child field, right? Sorry. Do these changes. Even for the port in the listener, you'll have the http dot port, dollar flower braces http dot port. Make these changes, save it, and now again let's test the application if it is running successfully. Yeah, test the application fast, quickly on your local. I just tested, I got the response. That means application is working successfully. All the properties are being called from the configuration.yaml. Make it fast, we have to cover some more topics. So what we have done is we are trying to take all the properties and mention it in the config.yaml. And how are we letting MuleSoft know that there is a config.yaml? In the global elements, we have created a connection properties. In the connection properties, we are saying there is a file called properties file config.yaml. Please refer that whenever there is a property reference. And in the property reference, how are we referring? $sign flower braces. Okay, now let's go to our AnyPoint platform. So it's referring to the training for American Web Service. So if you see here in the screenshot above, there is some training for American API, right? So this is a mistake here in the training. So we'll go to the exact, this is the actual training for American Web Service in the implementation. Let's go here. And then here we'll drag and drop a listener. And then name this file as, name that flow as get American flights. Any confusion? Are you following me here so far? Forget
Yes,
the
sure.
previous steps. Yeah, it's just a wrong mention in the training. So get American flights. We are actually dealing with the API which we created in few classes ago, right? So again in the listener configuration, we'll giving the path as slash American, and this is a get method. So in the advance, we'll mention it as get. And in general, HTTP listener configuration is selected. Let me know if you have any questions so far, because it's just confusion there, but we haven't done any wrong steps. We're all good. So from the palette again, I'm trying to import a dependency from Exchange. So how do I do that? So in the palette, click on this search in Exchange button on the top, and in the Exchange in here type American flights. So there is one first dependency, it's called American flight API. So I'll select that, add here, and the latest version is 1.0.3. For you guys it will be 1.0.2, or if you find 3, that's good. Finish, and this will download. Once it's downloaded, you'll see that American flights here. Here, instead of creating a listener, normally we call the web service from using listener connector, right? So this is another way. If API is on Exchange, you can also import that API, and all the methods, get, delete, create, update, all these methods, it will come as a connector here. So this is one way of creating HTTP request. So we'll get the get flights and drop it here in the get flights, and again in the connection configuration, right? Go to this properties, you will see, and create new connection. In the new connection you will see host, port, all these details, protocol, and you also have the client ID and client secret. We implemented this in our previous classes, if you remember. So for all this, instead of writing code here and then removing and then going here and mentioning it in the property files, right? I'll do it directly as a good practice. I'll first open a global.xml file here. The same thing, just to make you familiar, mule configuration file, and then type global.xml, and in the global.xml I'll create new connection configuration, and the name of the connection configuration is American flight API config. So in the American flight API config, I will write straight away the properties which I will be referring. So I'll put host, port, protocol, base path, all of this. So port is port, protocol is protocol, and base path is base path.
Base path.
Okay, and then click OK. Now you'll find that here. Once you have it, save it, and in the implementation also for this, it will automatically select this, right? Now go back to your student files. In the student files, in the snippet folder, open with, in the snippet folder you will see that properties that we can take. Where is that? Here it is at the bottom, module 8. At the module 8, copy this American properties, copy all of this, and then come to your main project, and here we'll create a YAML file. And what is the name of the YAML file? New file,
config.yaml.
perfect. And you have to select which project, right? Finish. Where did that go? Oh, it got created here. So I'll pull and drop it here. Okay. In the config dot YAML, we paste that whatever we copied before. So here American.host, port, base path, protocol, all will be copy pasted from here to my connection configuration here. Host, port, protocol, base path. They'll all be referenced. After that, and how do my application know that it has to refer? So I'll create a connection configuration, connection properties, and then say the file name is config.yaml. It will know to refer whenever a property is referred, and save it. So once this is there, here in the destinations, if you see, it will already be auto populated. So here I don't want to select any of this. I want to put it as empty only, but I'll select the client ID as dollar American dot client ID, client underscore ID, and in the secret also same, client underscore secret, and then save it. But do we have client ID and client secret in a config.yaml? Let's check.
No.
Client ID and client secret are empty. It's there, but it's empty. Let's test this. But today you understood how to create property files, how to create global.xml, how to put all the configuration in one XML global.xml, and how to refer the property files from the YAML file, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So in the YAML file, again, client ID, client secret cannot be null. So basically we'll have to paste the client ID, client secret here, which will be taken from the studio here. So for that, uh, we have to go to Exchange. In the Exchange, we have American Flights API. Before going there, we have the public portal. In the public portal, in this, we'll go to my applications, and we are trying to an external app, and client ID is here. Do you remember how we got that? So we paste it here in the client ID, and secret also we copied, and in the secret we paste it. So now once all of these are there, you can stop and redeploy the application. Now it won't throw any error. See, it is deployed. Now how do I test this application again? I go here, and then instead of flights I'll put American. Not this. So delete this and put American, and then call low listener me. So it says last name dot region dot cloud.io. It's working, right? Okay. So we have to pretty much align to this host name. Copy, and then go to configuration.yaml. So here in the here they have mentioned the region and all for us to enter. So I'll pretty much go here and update the name, and then again save it, and then stop, again redeploy. Any questions, ask me. I'm going little fast because we are out of time. You know what I'm doing? I'm calling the API call just from the property files, mentioning all the details. Instead of mentioning those details in the listener configuration, I'm just mentioning those details in the YAML.file. That's it. This is the listener. And this is the get flights. In the get flights, I don't have not mentioned any details. It's all from coming from the property files. That's all I'm doing. So nothing to get confused there. So now I go here and call. Again, it says failed slash flights. Failed 404 not found. So it's HTTPS, not HTTP. So again, I have to come back. This is how you troubleshoot, and you will get a clear message there. Since we have implemented proxies and all, and these guys have not gone through that level yet, proxies and all. So that's why we are getting that error. So here we can just change it to, sorry, not here. This is listener for the request. Here, edit and change it to HTTPS host. So in the host, HTTP is there, right? Just put S, HTTPS, and then save. Again, stop and run. So basically, we are trying to use the same projects which we created in the different tutorial from the MuleSoft, not this existing advanced, sorry, the fundamentals tutorial. From the introduction to endpoint platform, we have completed that course, 2-day course, and created some APIs. So we are pretty much trying to call them using the HTTPS, because in the current tutorial, we haven't gone through that level of proxying and policies. So that's why we are trying to test those with some modifications, small modifications. Again deployed. Now it says this also failed. Get on resource. I'll copy this, come here, paste it here, and I'll also copy this one. And paste it. So in the paste path, it has to be flights. What does it say here? So there is no AD. It's slash API. And slash. So let's put 80 and see for these applications. It doesn't work. So there is no port. Save. Let's see if it works now. So it's putting slash API colon 443, which is wrong. So that's why it's not encouraged to use this way. If you import like this, it's always this kind of issues. So it's never recommended. I personally never implemented any API calls like this. It's always HTTP request method. I used to call the request method and then implement it. So having this will always cause an issue. This is one thing to remember. But I still tried because it was there in the tutorials. But always we cannot go with the tutorials. That's why I'm here. we'll fix this and call this using HTTP listener really quick. HTTP listener, and then paste it here. Sorry, the request. Oh, and then remove that. So in the request, just mention the same things: client ID, client secret, host port, all of them. So we have to create new connection and then call it as American, since it's calling American. Base path and host and port, and this is a HTTPS, and then okay. In the headers I'll put secret. Host port, base path, and all are there. Protocol, we don't use it anymore. Client ID, client secret. It's throwing an error. Let's see why. Attribute path is missing. Path is just this. When you define refer from the data view expressions, you have to refer them using P. P says property. Okay, we'll see that in the next class on Saturday. Okay, I'll see why it's not successfully calling this and give you a solution. Okay, here I put this API here. I just removed the API from here, and also I put the base path as flights in the request slash flights, and then just redeployed, and here is my advanced risk client, and hit it, and it gave me a response calling the web service. Thank you.